Hi everyone, we're moving on to Chapter 9 and we're looking at maximizing human capital. And when we look back on Chapter 8 where we covered budgeting, how to get the most really in looking at your budget is maximizing human capital, because we know that our top expenditure is actually those who deliver care. So we often use the terms to do more with less. And in looking at that, I would like to challenge you to look at focusing on being more effective. When we're looking at the transition of healthcare from kind of pay for service type model to a value-based model, we're trying to add on responsibilities to what we've already done. And some of our previous systems and processes may not be the most effective way to deliver care, and we really need to think differently. So my challenge to you is focus on being effective and actually letting go of some of those things that we've done in the past that may no longer be effective based on the reimbursement model that we're moving toward. So use your critical thinking skills. Look at change and empowerment, the two key factors as we're looking at maximizing our human capital. Use your leadership skills effectively. So you want to use your reflective thinking to build your leadership skills, to be able to discern what needs to be applied at a given time. So you really need to take that step back, look at what's going on. Is it effective? What needs to be changed? And use your skills as a leader to evolve versus stack on to what's already happening. So think about your accountability to your staff. Think about your accountability to patients, to clients, to the organization. And at this point, we really need to think about our responsibilities in the context of the community and the populations that we serve as well. So we're looking at things in a much broader factor when we're looking at communities and populations and assuring that we're being the most effective for those that we serve. So when we're taking a look at our staff in particular, we want to make sure that we establish that very nurturing environment. So in order to have a nurturing environment, there needs to be a good understanding of what the expectations are for staff. Things should not be vague to them. They should know exactly what their responsibilities are, and the focus of the leader is to empower them to be successful, to meet their responsibilities and the expectations of their position. So with that being said, it's really important to be very open and approachable and have a safe environment established for those that you serve so that they can ask questions when they are unsure and get the answers that they need. So really encourage that shared knowledge and understand your staff. So there's a culture within each and every area of practice, so it's really important, number one, that you establish that culture of nurturing and empowerment for your staff and maintain that. And part of that is really knowing your staff and knowing their strengths and how you can build upon their strengths as well. So as we're building on strengths, one factor that is really evolving is magnet designation and looking at empowerment, as I alluded to earlier. So both are focused on creating staff success, and it's such a critical factor to consider as far as the overall organization success and what we're all about as far as providing the best possible services to those that we serve. So as we're looking at magnet designation, that will be helpful as you're looking at some of your assignments. In addition, take a look at quality scores, and sometimes we like to find the reasons why quality scores aren't what they should be, and we may actually relate to another department or something else that is impacting the quality scores. And really, the quality scores are based on organizational function, and everyone has a responsibility within that function. So it's important to engage all stakeholders that do play in whatever the particular quality score in question may be. So it's important to look at engaging everyone who's involved in elevating that standard versus casting blame or deflecting the responsibilities. As we're moving on in your chapter, we're looking at recruiting. And let's take a snippet back to our budgeting and just think about how important it is to maintain your high quality staff and the recruiting costs associated that are part of the budget process as well. So when we're looking at recruiting and retention, there's a huge factor that plays into cost and budgeting as well. So keep that in mind, how truly costly it is to lose staff and to recruit and train new staff as well. So we want to be sure to look at turnover rates and vacancies and really take a look at the why behind that. And one of the factors that resonates throughout the literature and within your book as well is look at those leadership issues that create turnover. And very often turnover is related to a particular manager versus the organization itself. So that's something to really key in and know how truly crucial your role is as a manager in healthcare organizations. As we move on to interviewing, again, interviewing is such a critical factor when we're looking at finding someone not only that has the skill set, but we also want to look at someone that will fit within our team and who will be a positive member of our team in delivering what we want as far as the care delivery for those that we serve. So someone that fits well within the vision, the mission, and the values of the organization. And on a side note as well, when one's own values aren't consistent with the vision, the mission, and the values of the organization, it makes for an unhappy employee. So that's something to consider, that not all turnover is bad. If we have someone who just cannot function within the direction of the organization, sometimes it's okay for someone to leave. And the key is to engage folks that are there to embrace the direction of the organization and understand that the true aspect is that we're looking at the care that we are delivering to those that we serve. So, with that being said, of course, we're very focused on change, and I want you to really read very carefully on pages 226 to 228 and look at those change traits that are so critical for leaders. And also, I can't underestimate the value of role modeling. That you really need to walk the walk and talk the talk as a manager. So hold on to that concept as well. So as we're looking at team management, I want to highlight the stages, and these may be familiar to you as far as the forming, the storming, the norming, performing, and adjournment. So there are specific steps that teams tend to go through, and just know that that occurs, and that's a healthy occurrence as they evolve as a team to get to the point that they're really performing. And as a leader, it's important to facilitate that process so that they can move through those different stages and not get stuck maybe on the storming stage. So just kind of keep that in mind as well. As we're moving on in your readings, I want to say communication, communication, communication. It's really the underpinning of success. So be very deliberate and effective, and make sure that you're using multiple levels of communication and getting feedback from staff as well to make sure that they truly understand and embrace the entire concept or communication that's being provided. And this is so important as we're looking at the diverse workforces. Look at Table 9.1 in your book and just think about the different types of communication that are necessary to communicate with different generations. So keep that in mind as you're constructing your communication plans and how you actually communicate with each one of the generations, and use communication as a tool to not segregate, but to think about the value of using the strengths of each and every generation to build a strong team. And too often we look at how folks are different from maybe what generation we are and judge based on that. But in actuality, there are tremendous strengths among each one of the different factors as far as the generations. So embrace that and build your team based on those particular strengths to have a much stronger team that way. And remember, in coordination with your communication, you are a facilitator. So you're a facilitator of developing those relationships between your staff as well. So keep that in mind. As we're looking at performance management, and again, this is a multifaceted approach, and many times we think of evaluations as kind of a derogatory or burdensome action. So really focus on performance management as something to be very positive, and focus on just what we've been talking about, the communication, the expectations, the responsibilities, looking at empowering, building on strengths, and supporting the success and succession planning, because you want to make sure that your area has someone who can move on with the work that's involved. So as we're closing for this particular chapter, there are so many key points in this chapter, so please, I hope you read it very carefully. And just know, as a leader, there are so many moving parts. And as a leader, you need to look at multi-level considerations. So it's not just going back to communication, just one means of communication. You really need to look at how everything ticks and ties, and looking at not only your particular area of practice, but you need to look beyond, so that you're looking at the global view and what is impacting and how you need to position your unit to be successful within the requirements out there and within the organizational requirements, and of course that focal view. So you want to look at yourself not only in the context of your organizational vision, mission, and values and the specific objectives, but you also want to look at what's going on out there in healthcare and how you can assist as far as positioning your area of control to be successful in the future. So I hope you enjoy reading Chapter 9. It has great information, and let me know if you have questions. Take care now. Bye-bye.